Landscape has not changed. It's pretty much just this the whole way.
Okay, so you might be wondering, how did I end up on the other side of the world in Iceland about to skate the entire way around the country? Well, I guess like a lot of people, I was getting to the end of my working days and being left feeling unfulfilled. What value am I adding to the world? And I guess one thing stuck with me, and that was that I wanted to be living a life worth telling. So the decision was made there and then. I want to start living with absolute intention and purpose. The idea is fairly simple. In amongst my usual life, because yeah, I still need to pay bills, I aim to complete 2 challenges per year. Each one unique, wacky, and some will see me venturing to the outer edges of the earth. And each one will be aligned with a different charity and purpose. So the first of them had to be big and bold. Where better than one of the most extreme places on earth, Iceland. And it just so happened to line up with another passion of mine, ocean conservation. For those that don't know, Iceland has a dark history of whaling. Despite being a fairly progressive country, they still continue to hunt whales. So this trip for me was also about shining a light on this and trying to enact action to bring it to a halt. So I packed my bags and said goodbye to the sunny, warm waters of Australia, and hello to the frigid, cold winds of Iceland for my first challenge. Longboard the entire distance around Iceland. And if I'm successful, I'll become the 5th person to ever do so. Starting point. Had these grand plans to do an amazing intro video, skating with the drone past this magnificent church. Iceland had other plans for me. It's currently just windy as and freezing cold, and I've had a few logistical issues this morning, so I'm actually skating to a different place tonight, and we're just going to have to see how we go because it's pretty full on right now. Yeah, but wait and see what else is going to be thrown at me. But yeah, excited nonetheless. So yeah, we'll see how we go. know if this is snow or sleet, but it's pretty yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere at the moment, trying to find some random accommodation. And yeah, I've never actually experienced snow, so this is a first. I didn't think I'd see it on the first day, but there you go. Morning guys, day 2. Just about to have my first experience on the main road, and all the traffic. It's pretty busy. I wasn't expecting it to be this busy. Hopefully it'll quieten the further I go north. Definitely slightly intimidating, but I guess we're just gonna have a go and just see what it's like. But yeah, at the end of the day, safety is the main thing for me, so I've just got to make sure I'm trusting my gut and making sure I'm staying safe. So we'll see how we go. The last whaling station in Iceland, which I wanted to go and see. But yeah, I'm sure where I'm at right now. I've actually found a little bit of roadwork where I've literally just got the road to myself, so it's pretty amazing because being on that main Route 1 highway is pretty scary. There's not much of a shoulder to the road and lots of trucks and cars, so definitely dangerous, so we've got to figure that out. Behind me you can see what looks like just two old boats that have been retired, but these are actually quite a historical pair of boats and a bit of a dark history behind them. So these are actually old whaling boats. The story behind them is that they were actually scuttled by Sea Shepherd back in the 70s. So really interesting to know that there's actually a bit of history here in Iceland with Sea Shepherd and some of the former battles that occurred. I thought this was really important for me to be here and to see this area, because it actually is just the beginning of what could be the last whaling hunt ever in Iceland. One man continues to decide to want to keep whaling going and to keep profiting. He's one of the wealthiest guys in Iceland. So yeah, I think it's really important that we show this to the world and realise that there's no need for this. There's no need to kill such beautiful creatures just for profits. Back in the day, yeah, whale was a necessity when the harsh winters hit, but the reality is no one eats whale in Iceland. Only maybe a very small portion of people. So the whole tradition thing is a bit of a cop out now. It really doesn't make it okay. Yeah, just try and spread this message as much as you can to try and help bring this to a halt as soon as possible.
not the greatest night's sleep. I think I've had maybe 2 hours of like broken sleep pretty much. Yeah, the tent's just been going crazy all night with this code yellow blizzard that's hitting now, and it's only going to get worse, which is not great news. Yeah, so I've got to kind of figure out how I'm going to get all this gear, which I've got, which is way too much to carry on the board in one go. I've got to get it to a hotel up the road. I think it's about maybe 2k up the road. So yeah, I think I'm just going to have to pick my timing and try and do it when there's no rain. Yeah, see how I go. It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, day one was Sunday the 21st. I had grand plans. I had a plan of heading to, I'm probably going to mess this up, but Horsgrim's Church. It's like the centre of Reykjavik. It's just a massive church, very, very visually grabbing and just very Icelandic. So it just seemed like the fitting place to kick off the entire journey. So we've got a little strange Icelandic bird walking past. So yeah, and then as I set off, pretty much torrential rain and wind, which has kind of continued since. So yeah, it didn't go according to plan, unfortunately. So the first kind of logistical issue I had on day one was that my pack weight was way overboard, and it was all essential. So this meant that yeah, it was at the point where I literally physically couldn't carry both my 55 litre hiking bag and a front bag, and then I had other things hanging off just because it just all wouldn't fit. So I ended up having to leave some gear at the hotel, and the girl working behind the desk, she lived in one of the towns that I was heading towards, so she said she would drop it off the next day, which was super handy, and it also just lightened me up to get through that first day. And yeah, it was a testing one straight up. So yeah, I had to bypass the highway on day one just because it was kind of peak hour, everyone was finishing work, and the traffic on highway 1 was it just wasn't possible. There was just way too many cars and trucks, and it just would have been a bit of a risk to myself, so I ended up having to take a longer detour that kind of weaved around the coastline, and I ended up in Mossfellnes, which is just like a fringe suburb to Reykjavik. What did I do the first day? I think it was about 22k. Intermittent walking in there, had accommodation that was roughly organised. The girl at the front desk of my first accommodation said that there was vacancy at this hotel, to which I turned up in the pouring rain, freezing cold, after doing 22 k's on the skateboard, and to be told
by a big Icelandic guy at a bar saying they didn't have any vacancy, and I asked, is there any other hotels in the area, and apparently there wasn't. So yeah, I was quite literally stranded without any of my camping gear. So luckily I started chatting to a few of the older locals in the pub, and one of the ladies, she rang around a few friends, and thankfully for her, she saved the day, and one of her friends came through Airbnb for me. So so I ended up skating to there, and had a bit of trouble finding the place, and weather got more and more intense, but got there, got a nice hot shower and a good night's sleep, which was exactly what I needed. Which leads us to day 2. Day 2, similar conditions, just strong wind, sleeting kind of rain, like it's like the kind of rain that's solid. Definitely hurts when you're going towards it. This was my first time on Route 1 as well, so it was a bit intimidating, just skating along the road with the traffic still being quite heavy, and the shoulder of the road being roughly probably about this much. So when trucks come, you kind of almost need to bail off the board and try and get off to the side of the road, which sometimes there isn't even that option. So very intimidating, and still something I haven't fully figured out. And I've been currently doing a lot of walking just to play it safe in certain areas where there's not enough shoulder. So that's something I'm definitely going to need to figure that out. So day 2 I skated to Grundarfjörður, which is the little town kind of right next to the big tunnel that goes under the fjord, which it's illegal for anyone to walk or skate or cycle through, just because it's dark and it goes for a couple of Ks. So the girl from the accommodation, she kindly offered to drop my gear off and also take me through the tunnel, and we ended up actually detouring across, which I'd always planned to do, was to head to the last whaling station in Iceland, which is a part of Hvalfjorda, which making an absolute mockery of the names here, but that translates to whale fjord. So it kind of made sense that that's where they kind of bring the whales in. That was an experience, just quite an eerie experience, seeing 2 of the boats that had previously been used for whaling, and they'd been scuttled by a sea shepherd back in the 80s. So definitely some history there, and definitely a bit of a interesting vibe. A lot of surveillance, a lot of fencing, and just odd given the landscape. It's in the middle of nowhere. Clearly it's quite a divisive little setup that they've got going there. I set up camp, and so I was in Borganes, which is kind of where I'm still relatively close to. So I'm essentially in Borganes now. So I set up camp for the first time and tested out all the new gear, cooked with the jet boil, had a nice vegan pasta, and had a bit of a feast because I hadn't eaten dinner the night before, breakfast or lunch, just due to circumstances. I didn't have any of my gear, so that wasn't ideal, and I plan not to do that again moving forward. Which leads me to day 3. So a code yellow blizzard had been kind of put out for broadcasts, alerting everyone to kind of batten down the hatches, because there was some pretty full-on winds coming. I think it's saying 25 meters per second, which I don't know what that translates into kilometers per hour, but it's definitely the strongest wind I've ever experienced. Today, like, a gust almost knocked me off my feet. I watched another guy kind
kind of walking around like he was doing a poker dance because he was struggling to find his feet, an older fella. Yeah, it's just crazy winds. Pretty intimidating and obviously not suitable for skating. It's just too easy for it to knock you off your board. Let alone like walking is hard enough. So that meant that day 3 was a bit of a scratch day. It was kind of I just ruled it out. It was too risky, especially with all the gear as well. But I did have to skate 3k up the road to accommodation. Day 4 is looking to be quite a solid day with a lot of gear.
Morning guys, day 4. You probably can't even hear me, it's so windy. It's still code yellow, blizzard, but I thought I can't sit around and wait, so I just got to go. About 28 to 30 k's ahead to get to Bifrost. But yeah, it's a big day then, so yeah, hopefully this wind doesn't wreak too much havoc. The heavens pretty much just opened up and dropped ice everywhere for about 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden the sun's back out. So yeah, I'm starting to see what they say about Iceland and its weather, how it can be 4 seasons in one day. But yeah, pretty intense. The whole road was just white with ice, and I'm currently skating towards a truck coming. Currently skating towards Bifrost, which is I can kind of see some volcanoes in the distance, so that tells me I'm pretty close. You're gonna see how crazy trucks are. I'll just keep you here with me for a second. Yeah, so the trucks, if you don't kind of get off the road as much as you can, all the wind that comes with them literally almost knocks you over. So it's pretty intense, but most of the drivers have been pretty good. They actually like completely get into the other lane. They put their indicator on, so it's actually quite nice to see. They probably don't see someone on a skateboard every day in bright yellow and green. So yeah, so far so good on that front. But yeah, I've got to show you this view that I'm looking at right now. It's pretty incredible.